and welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices, where we talk about issues affecting the Black community. And again, my name is Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell. In our last segment, we were actually applauding the 34 felony counts that Donald J. Trump received on May 30th. And May 30th is going to be one of those dates where you can sit back and ask your friends, where were you on May 30th when you heard about the 34 felony counts? So, and again, in the last segment, Chris and I were doing most of the talking, but we're going to go over here to Caleb and get his thoughts.
Get my thoughts. Okay. I tell you, what this is what concerns me.
Okay.
So, all on social media, all on the news, you still see just a large segment of the population, I guess the right or the MAGA population, that are still saying this doesn't even matter. And this man has raised $54 million. I think last time I checked, it was up to $54 million since his conviction. And so, to me, that's concerning. And so, here, in addition to the conviction, all the other things that he's done, all the statements that he's made, and these people are not letting him go. They're not abandoning him. And then I listened to some of the statements they made about how he says what he thinks, and he lets us say what we think, and he's not politically correct. And so you put it all together, and it paints a picture, and you get an understanding of why these people are backing this guy. And so, and to me, it comes down to there's a segment of this population that is more concerned about race than anything else.
About race?
About race.
Okay, about their privilege.
Yeah.
Okay.
And rolling it back to a previous time and putting folks back in their place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you a question, both of you. Will the conviction that comes in July, will that change anything?
No. They're already saying it doesn't change anything, and they're pouring money into this guy. And so, again, I mean, you take that into consideration.
Okay, well, let's just play devil's advocate.
Okay.
What if, I don't think he's going to go to jail, but what if they put him in jail, he'll
be running the country from prison. If he gets elected, if he goes to jail and still gets elected, he'll have Secret Service outside of his cell door, and he'll be running the country from a prison. It's a state conviction, and it's not a federal conviction, so it doesn't bar him from federal election. So, yeah, he can actually go to prison, win the election, and still run the country.
So then that brings a bigger issue. What you kind of alluding to is that when you talk about race, then race trumps everything in America, more so than anything else. So, I don't know if we want to get into this, but then
let's get into it.
Where does that leave us as Black folks? I mean, because basically what you're saying is that anything can happen for him, positive, but it's always going to be negative for us. We didn't have those things that were the rights and things that we had accumulated from the 60s up to 2020 or whenever he was president. But after he became president, then those things began to erode for us. And that's when people started to gravitate towards him. Yeah. They had also started, I'll just mention it, that when Barack Obama became president, that's when there would be no Trump without Barack Obama.
Probably. Yeah, probably so. And so, yeah, and you make a good point. You see that they became more open, and able to challenge systems that they haven't traditionally challenged. Without Trump, I don't think they would have challenged affirmative action or challenged DEI or been bold enough to challenge the teaching of Black history or Black contributions to this country. Or reinstituting standardized testing. And so all of the gains that we've made and all the progress society's made, they are now free to roll them back and openly roll them back and openly attack black women in higher education or openly attack black women in business. Again, if you go listen to their statements, he gives us free, we can say what we want to say now.
So what does that got to do? Okay, so what about the black folks who are supporting Trump? Now, are they really free to say what's on their mind, or is it, as I'm hearing other YouTubers say, are they dancing for butter biscuits?
I mean, you know what? Coons are gonna coon, and so you've always had a segment of our society, of our folks, that have always been comfortable in a white patriarchal system. They've always been comfortable under a system of white supremacy, and so just like I said, coons are gonna coon.
But the Boondocks. We talk about the Boondocks. The Boondocks, really, if you start studying various episodes, they had episodes that pointed to where we are now. They really did. They had episodes that pointed to where we are now.
Let me ask a different question. So let's say that Joe Biden becomes president or is elected president this year. Does it change the fact at all? Do those people go away, the MAGA people, or are they still in the background, still
Planning
and pulling strings to make things happen? The only way that I think that may not happen or does not happen is that, as I said in the first segment, we've got to blow up the Republican Party. Because if you don't control all three houses, branches, to be able to control also the Supreme Court, because that has also become political as well, then we can't begin to get America back on track to the way it is. And if that doesn't happen, does that mean that the blacks who are here, do we continue to try to believe that we can create something different, or do we need to go someplace else?
No, so a couple of things. That was a long question. You had about 5 questions in that one question.
Right.
No, so the genie's out of the bottle.
Okay.
These folks can't unsay what they've said. It's on camera.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't think, they're not gonna back the mules anyway.
Okay.
And so as far as getting America back on track, America's is still American. It's still Americaning. You know what I mean? It's just out in the open now.
Okay.
The freedom to be as racist as they want to be is just it's now in the open.
Okay.
So America's doing what it's always done. It's just always done it in the shadow.
But where does that leave us?
Well, again, it leaves us where we've always been. So
we never acknowledge. We've always been the type of people that believes things can get better. Okay, we can, through voting, through whatever, we can make things better.
Right.
This goes to show you that there's a faction saying, we don't give a damn what you think. Okay, you ain't never gonna. The Constitution wasn't set up for you.
Right.
Ain't nothing set up for you. These laws ain't set up for you. You ain't never gonna have it. We're gonna make sure you don't never have no Barack Obama again.
So the thing is too, I know I shared that study, the McKinsey study with you guys. So in that study, we say, oh yeah, we're blacks are progressing, progressing. But in McKinsey, when you look at all the data from McKinsey, the wealth gap has not just stayed the same, it's expanded. So white folks are getting wealthier, and they've expanded that gap. They've expanded that gap in wealth and education, opportunity. It's expanded. So we really, if you look at the stats, no, it hasn't gotten better on the whole for us. Well, I'll put it like this. Whereas you did see progress for us, they progressed even more. You know what I mean? So that gap did expand.
Without having to go to all the things that we have to go to just to get to that point.
You bring up a good point, because I don't know I can't remember what the statistics are. But when Ronald Reagan came in, he was the one who actually, I guess, eliminated the middle class. And he began to give those in the higher brackets, and it's never calibrated itself, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
And that's why once we lost the middle class, America began to erode from there. And at that particular point, I think we were paying maybe 80 or something percent in taxes or whatever thing.
And then he
But-
did come in and cut. He cut a lot of those taxes.
Well, wait a minute, before we go any further,
Okay.
we're going to go ahead and take a quick break and come back to Reaganomics.
Okay.